Hello, hello, and thank you so much for joining another afternoon coffee with cream. I am so excited that we have the amazing Jesta Bouie in the studio with us today. Listen, y'all, tell you about pressing through and letting God guide you through that. Trust the process. Did you hear me? The process. She is going to talk to us today about that. And I want to thank the folks at ACA Event Solutions for sponsoring today's broadcast. If you're planning an event, whether it's virtual or in person, give the folks at ACA Event Solutions a call or an email, and they will reach out to you because stress free events. Now, I'm going to give you an opportunity to go ahead and like, comment, and share the broadcast. Because let me tell you, you want to tell your friends to go ahead and get on in today. But we'll be afternoon coffee with cream in just 1 second. Okay. And just like that, coffee with cream. Listen, I tell you what. Thank you so much for joining, Glenola. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm not sure what is happening with that, but I do thank you so much for letting us know. Lady Sharice, so much for joining. Today we have the amazing Justa in the studio with us today. And I tell you what, I am so excited. I met this young lady, and let me tell you, her story just blows me away. Do you hear me? And so you're going to be of it. Let me just tell you a little bit about Justa. Justa is an art. She is a child of God. She is a entrepreneur. She is a boss, y'all, and she is going to break it down. Feels like sharing today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and put your hands together. Welcome, which is mighty woman of God, Justa Bouie. Hey there, how are you
Hey,
doing?
good evening, Miss Washington. How are you?
I am I am great. Thank you so very much for joining us today. And we are just honored to have you here. I just wanted just go ahead and hop right in if that's okay with you.
It's fine. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, who is Jesta Bowie? Who is this mighty person that has persevered? Tell us about it. Tell us about it. Who is Jesta?
Well, I'm Jesta Chantrice Bowie. My family calls me Sean. My students call me Miss Bowie or Miss B. First of all, I'm a servant of God, a child of God, a woman of much faith, an encourager, a survivor, an overcomer, an educator by trade, a believer. believing that anybody can overcome anything as long as they put their trust in their hand in God, and God will always bring you through.
Yeah. My thoughts about domestic violence and child molestation, those are two topics that people just don't want to talk about. They
No.
want you to keep it hush hush, you know. And October is Domestic Violence Month, right? But
Yes,
we
it is.
hear more about. So I'm not taking away from that at all. There is a lot of people, both men and women, impact cancer, breast cancer. Domestic violence is also here in October, and I know that it is really prevalent now here in COVID because the domestic violence cases have just really, really gone up. And so against domestic violence and child molestation.
Okay, say that again. I didn't hear what you said.
Why did you decide to speak out against domestic violence and child molestation?
Well, I decided to finally speak out about it in 2005, but I was a survivor and a victim as a child, as a baby. I'm my birth mom's only child, and I was abused by her when I was little. And also, I went through child molestation through the hands of her boyfriend. And that's how my grandmother ended up raising me. So, but I went through a process where I wouldn't tell anybody. I really wouldn't talk about it as a child, even as a teenager. And I started working, after I got my paralegal degree, I started working for a well-known attorney in High Point, Nixon and Associates. So I saw the cases that would come in and it would shock me because it would be very prominent women, doctors' wives, lawyers' wives, accountants. I'm like, because it's a stigma to it that it only happens to lower class women. And I would, see these cases come in, and I was like, well, why don't you just leave? And then when I had my first encounter with it, which I did before when I was younger, but when you're younger, you like, okay, that's not what it is. And when it happened to me, I before it happened to me, I started going out and people would ask me how to walk people through a 50B. So I started going out. I was like, okay, this is because I would go to court and the evidence would be there, but it would get denied. And I'm like, okay, I saw the bruises. I saw the pictures. What is it? You have to have specific, what they call legal jargon to get one. You have to have evidence that this really happened. You have to know what to do. And so when I started speaking out about it, it was hard because it's something that people don't want to talk about. And even in church, it's taboo. They don't want to touch it. And I would see it everywhere, and I was like, God, what is this? And I started speaking up and about it because it needs to have a voice. And
Mm-hmm.
like you're saying, this is the month for it, and the cases have gone up because due to COVID. As a matter of fact, there was a case just a couple of days, just last week, where we're remote learning, and a whole class witnessed a 7-year-old getting molested by her 18-year-old cousin on live. And the
Mm-hmm.
teacher had to shut the live down and call the cops. So
Mm-hmm.
luckily, it got done. And the person had been doing it to the child for years. So I'm glad I have a voice and I'm glad I'm able to be a voice for others.
Yeah. You know, people at poverty level or the lower class people that suffer domestic violence, but I too was a domestic violence overcomer. And I tell you what, we lived in that house on the hill. And domestic violence does not have a status quo for who goes to that. And we need more people, as Lisa Warren all the way from St. Petersburg, Florida, said that we need more people to speak more on this. So thank you so much for that.
And I was like you. I was upper middle class. I had money in the bank. We had 4 or 5 cars. I had, 3 bedroom house, 2-story house, and was young and had all of this. And then when it happened, I lost everything within an hour. Like,
Mm,
lost everything. And until people have to
mm,
understand, when people go through this, and they'll
mm,
say, well, why he or she? Because it's not just women, it's men too. And they'll say, why don't you
absolutely.
just leave? You, unless you're in it, you can't leave, because your life. And then if you have kids, that's a whole nother aspect. You have to really think about it. And people will judge somebody that's going through. It's like, well, he or she, no, the average person can't just get up and leave. You just can't walk away from it. I thank God that when I did it, I prayed and asked God. I said, God, if you ever give me an outlet, I'm gone. And I lost everything in a day.
Yeah, that's like me too, Jesta. That is exactly my story as well. Um, so unfortunate. Um, my abuser was in church. So where do I go through? My mom passed away. They were in love. They still hold hands. They still, and so I did not grow up in that environment. And so you don't know what you would do until you go through that. And the thing that I want people to understand is domestic does not start immediately. First, they have to tear down every ounce of self esteem that you have in order to do that. And you are so correct. When there's children involved, then, that's a whole different level. That's a whole different level when you have children involved.
And then when you have if your abuser is in church, that's a whole different thing. I'd even faced, like, I can't believe you left all of that. Why'd you leave? And I'm like, wait a minute. I left with my life and my children's life, or I dealt with, what did you do? Or no, I can't believe that happened to you. Not you, Jesta, not you. You speak your mind. You a go getter. And I'm like, but you don't know that I was living in so much fear, where
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell some family members, because I didn't want them to go to jail, because they was like, they'll go bust in door, and I didn't want all of that.
Yeah.
So people look at it a different way. But then they have to understand it takes steps to get out of it. And it's a lot of steps getting out of it. And then it's a whole lot of steps to recover from it. Because if
Yes.
you, if you're, if like for a woman, if the man is the breadwinner and he has all the money, even if you get out, there's a higher percentage of women going back, because it's hard to get on your feet. I'm glad that a lot of things there's a lot more resources
Hmm.
than it used to be. But the
Hmm.
resources need to be better, because what a lot of people don't know right now is, if there's a woman that has teenagers, and her son is 16 and she gets out, she cannot take her 16-year-old son to a shelter with her. Her
Hmm.
son has to go to an adult shelter, because
Hmm.
he's a male. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of resources out here, but there need to be more greater resources to think about, to keeping everybody together.
Yeah, yeah. And then we have a comment from Glenola. Glenola is saying in church, people don't talk because they consider it to be embarrassing, right? And I know for my situation, a lot of times, oftentimes, pray about it, what did you do, all of these things that will keep you there in that situation when they don't understand that, yes, praying is good. You should always pray. But at some point, you have to make that decision that's what's going to be best for you and your children. And when I left, I absolutely knew that he was going to find me and kill me. So that's a whole different dynamics of it as well. So yeah, unless, like you said, unless you go through it, you can't fully understand it. So what has been your biggest Did we talk about that already?
I think one of the biggest things that I did when I first started speaking about was finding a platform to speak out about it freely. And even down to I would help women plan their seminars, and I would like, look, you can't really post this, or we got to make sure there's a safety mechanism in it, because a lot of people follow people. We got to make sure that whatever speaker you get. So it was like a lot of things because people's like, I can't believe that you're speaking up and out about it because people are crazy. If they know that you're speaking up and out and you're giving women or men tools how to get out, they might come after you. And then the church is a whole nother thing. I had to find churches that didn't mind, or for me to come in and speak about it, or other people that I know. It's because it's a stigma that's attached to it. That was the hardest thing to get over, of making sure people were still safe, making sure the resources were still there, making sure the information was getting out in a very productive way where women weren't just there to come to find out, but be able to speak their truth, to get some healing, get some resources, and to understand that you can get out of it, because we want people to get out of it. We don't want the numbers to increase, because the numbers have increased over this since COVID. You don't want the numbers to increase, and then getting people to understand, even down to family and friends, that if you're not going to really help the situation, pray about the situation. But if you don't know how to help, you don't know how to get the help, reach out to organizations that can teach you how to help somebody get out. Because what you think might be help actually could be a detriment to that person's life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lisa Dixon Warren is saying that there's steps to get out of it. Now that is someone that is you would never believe. Oh, I don't know what happened, but it actually went through that based on our personalities, right? But I want to we talked earlier about it is not a certain status or so. Could you give me some examples that may be able to help the audience identify if they think maybe their sister girl,
Some of the things you can look for is you have to. A lot of times it's about control. They want to know where the person's going. They like to pull them away from their family, like to cut family off, cut friends off, cut finances off. If like if you have a sister who really doesn't wear makeup and all of a sudden she's wearing makeup all the time, or she's constantly fearful or being very scared, um and there's signs like you have to really know the person. If your sister, friend, or even a male has totally shifted, like they can never stay at a function, this person is never with them, or if they're with them and they're always close to them, if they embarrass them, because for some abusers they don't care, they will do it in front of somebody and not care anything about it. But if you see it, report it. If you think if you feel like somebody's getting abused, try to have a conversation with them, but also be understanding. And if they say it that they're being abused, ask them, can I help you get out? How do you think we can do this? Because as the viewer said, there are steps to it. There are steps to it, because a lot of people get out and then they either go back, or a lot of people get out and then they get hurt. So you want to make sure that you keep that person's life still intact and then get them out safely.
absolutely, absolutely. I want to talk about your book, but is there anything else you want to share of your story or anything else about domestic violence or child molestation?
If you see something and if there's something, what as old people say, that your gut feeling is, if you have that gut feeling that something's not right, try to have a conversation. Don't just overlook everything, because
Yeah.
for a lot of people that are going through this, they don't know how to say they need help. They're too scared to say they need help,
Mm-hmm.
and because they've probably been threatened,
Mm-hmm.
that they're going to kill them, their kids, their family. So be very mindful. And if you know somebody that's going through it, seek some counseling for yourself to try to help the person. But reach out to your local domestic violence shelter to try to get information. You can actually DM me or reach out to me because there's steps to it. But
Yeah.
never ever see it and not report it,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it needs to be reported. It's even down to child abuse, in any of that. Always try to report it. Always try to make sure that you understand, because you want to make sure that this goes down, because not only does the person need to get out, but the abuser needs help too.
Yeah. That is so true. So, congratulations on your book release. Congratulations.
Yes, I wrote two. I was on two collaborations last year in 2019. Never ever really thought. I thought about years ago writing books. So one of the collaborations was from Fiery Beacon Publishing House, which is Brandy Rojas, Pastor Brandley Rojas. And it was a total of 24 of us on this collaboration. And it's when legacy arises from the threshing floor, a collection of trials and tribulations superseded by undeniable victories. So every woman in this book has a story to tell. And just reading that book, you would see us and you're like, I did not know that happened. Um, so that book was actually released in November last year. So next month will be the first year of that release. And then the other book that I wrote on collaboration too was She Overcame Suicide, inspiring stories of serving in ministry while struggling with suicide. And that was presented by Denise Kelly. I mean, there were a total of 13 of us on that book, and it's about dealing with suicide in ministry. So if you want to get that book from me, you can actually send me an inbox. Um, Send me an inbox. I have them on hand. Send me a message on Facebook. So those two stories in both of those books, it brought out something to me that I never thought that was there. It actually helped me speak my truth about situations. And I'm actually working on. I have some more stuff that's in play now. So hopefully I'll finish the next two by the end of next year. Haven't decided on a title yet, but I'm gonna do my whole book by myself, and me and my daughter are gonna write a story as well.
That is so awesome. So on Facebook, you're Jesta Bouie. On
Yes,
Instagram, you're Just Speak Truth.
yes,
Truth. And also, your book is available on, correct?
Amazon. Yes,
Yep. Awesome. 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 That is amazing. I tried to like locate my copy because I do have a copy of Legacy. What is it? Is Legacy?
yes. It's when the thresh is. Let me go back to this. That's the one by Brandy Rojas, that Pastor Brandy Rojas, and that one came out last year. And it's when legacy arrives from the threshing floor, a collective of trials and tribulations superseded by undeniable victories. It's an anthropology.
Yeah, that book is amazing. I know you, and then I know Latricia Miller is in that book as well. Latricia.
Yes.
So yeah, that
Thank
is just an awesome, awesome, awesome copy. You can reach out to Justa right here on Facebook. Again, she's her first and last name, Justa Bouie. Instagram is Just Speak Truth. And on Twitter, it's Just Speaking Truth. This mighty woman of God right here. I tell you what, last in-person event in March at the
Yes.
Celebrating Life Jazz Brunch, and that was like the end of the in-person events.
Right.
I thank God we were able to recognize you. You're
Thank you.
so awesome, and we just really hats off to you for accomplishing Jesus. What happens with me is when I get to one incident that happened on Mother's Day that I thought that over and delivered from it, and I'm kind of like right there at that event. We'll be out you for completing those two books, and then you have two more books in the works, at least two more books, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So that is um three of my favorite questions. And the first one is, what is your favorite color?
And I actually have three: teal,
Okay.
purple, and blue.
Okay. Royalty, royalty, and grace. Royalty and grace. Yes, ma'am. That's what those colors represent. You know absolutely that you should be at the Grammys.
Ooh, actually, Monica, don't take it personal.
Okay, okay, okay. Don't take it personal. Okay. And our final question is, when you get to the years from now, right? When you get to the pearly gates, what do you want to hear the good Lord say?
I actually want to hear him say, "I'm so glad that you pushed through. Come on in."
On in, girl. That's what we want to hear. Come on in.
Yes.
You push through. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for tuning in today, everyone. I thank you so much, Jesta. Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you again.
were so busy, and I am so grateful that today was the day. Is there anything else you need to share with us before you leave?
Well, also for my business, I actually revamped one of my businesses, and I revamped it over during the pandemic, and I thank God for that. It's called JSB Professional Services. So I'm a business consultant and an education consultant. So I meet with kids that try to help them figure out what they want to do with college, whether they want to go, what they want to do in their life. And then I help people that I take people's passion. If they want to turn a passion into a business, I actually walk them through that process as well. And I'm a notary as well.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. JSB Professional Services is the new. So, yeah, much for tuning in today. Thank you so much. And you have an amazing day. My fingers
Mm.
be here, and so I'm just doing all kinds of stuff in the background. But thank you so much for tuning in today. And I pray God's blessing on every single thing that you do,
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
the full till the overflow. You have an amazing day. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. You as well.
All right. And just like that, so quickly, I'll absolutely have to have a taste of the victories that she has gone through and her story. Y'all be sure to get her book now. That book, I'm telling you, I have one of her books myself, and it is awesome, awesome, awesome sauce. And you can find her right here on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Y'all have an amazing afternoon, and we'll be right back here on um, and we'll be right back here on Wednesday with another afternoon coffee with cream. Y'all be okay. Bye.